Have you ever felt someone watching over you after they passed away? You know that feeling when you're alone but somehow sense a presence, like your grandmother is still there caring for you? Well, what I discovered in prayer last week about whether our loved ones who've gone to heaven can actually see us down here completely shattered everything I thought I knew about the connection between earth and eternity. Jesus showed me something so profound about the veil between this world and the next that I actually wept for 20 minutes straight. What he revealed about your departed loved ones and their awareness of your daily life isn't just going to comfort you, it's going to revolutionize how you understand death, love, and the eternal bonds that truly never break, no matter what anyone has told you. I'm sitting here in my backyard this morning, the California sun warming my face, wearing this pink shirt that honestly makes me feel peaceful somehow. The house behind me holds so many memories, and I keep thinking about loss, about the people we miss, about questions that keep us awake at 3 a.m, wondering if those we love are somehow still watching over us. But to understand why this question became so urgent for me, let me back up to 3 weeks ago when I got a call that changed everything. My friend Sarah, who'd been battling cancer for 2 years, had finally been called home to be with Jesus. She was only 38, a mother of 2 young children, and one of the most vibrant believers I'd ever known. At her funeral, her 7-year-old daughter Emma asked me the question that would haunt me for weeks. "Mr. Jonathan, can mommy see me when I'm sad at night? Can she watch me grow up from heaven?" I looked into those innocent eyes, and honestly, I didn't know what to say. I gave her the typical comfort words we all use, but inside, I was desperate for a real answer. You see, I've played Jesus for 5 seasons of The Chosen, and we just wrapped season 5 a few months ago. Now we're in production for season 6, and I spend my days studying scripture, praying, trying to understand the heart of Christ. But this question, whether our loved ones in heaven can see us, wasn't something I'd ever deeply explored. Growing up, I heard different teachings. Some said the departed are completely focused on worshiping God and have no awareness of earth. Others believed they could see everything but couldn't intervene. Some thought they became guardian angels. The confusion was overwhelming, and I realized how desperately people need clarity on this profound mystery that touches every human heart. After Sarah's funeral, I couldn't stop thinking about Emma's question. I started noticing how many people carry this deep longing to know if their parents, spouses, children, or friends who've passed away can somehow still witness their lives. It's such a universal human need, this desire to maintain connection beyond physical separation. I began having dreams about my own grandfather, who raised me after my father left when I was young. Papa had been gone for 15 years, but in these dreams he seemed so present, so aware of who I'd become, so proud of the man I was growing into. Were these just wishful thinking, or was there something deeper happening? The more I prayed about it, the more I realized this question wasn't just about comfort. It was about understanding the very nature of love itself. Does love truly transcend physical boundaries? When someone we cherish transitions to eternity, does that love somehow create an ongoing awareness, an unbreakable spiritual connection that defies our earthly understanding of separation? I started researching scripture with an intensity I'd never experienced before. I combed through every passage about heaven, about the cloud of witnesses, about the connection between earth and eternity. But the more I studied, the more questions arose. I needed something beyond theological interpretation. I needed to hear from Jesus himself. 3 weeks of this internal wrestling left me exhausted. I was carrying not just my own questions, but the weight of every person who'd ever wondered if their mother could see them walking down the aisle, if their child could witness their achievements, if their spouse could feel their ongoing love and grief. Last Tuesday night, I was lying in bed, unable to sleep, thinking about Emma's innocent question and realizing how many people live with this quiet ache of wanting to know. The uncertainty was stealing peace from grieving hearts everywhere. I knew I had to take this directly to Jesus, not as an actor studying a role, but as a son seeking truth from his father. I got up around midnight and went to my prayer room. I lit a candle, opened my Bible, and just began to pour out my heart. Jesus, I said, people are hurting. They need to know about their loved ones. They need to understand how love works in eternity. Please, show me the truth about whether those in heaven can see us. What happened next wasn't just an answer to prayer, it was an encounter that would change how I understand death, love, and the magnificent design of God's eternal kingdom. Jesus didn't just give me information, he gave me an experience that I knew I had to share with anyone who's ever missed someone they loved. If this message is reaching you right now, I'd love to know. Comment below where you're listening from and what time it is there. We're all connected in this moment. Back to what I was saying, I have to tell you, I was nervous about receiving this revelation. What if the answer wasn't what people wanted to hear? What if it brought more questions than comfort? But I'd learned from playing Jesus that truth, even when challenging, is always more healing than uncertainty mixed with false hope. As I knelt there in the darkness, I felt this overwhelming sense of anticipation. It was like standing at the edge of a vast mystery, knowing I was about to receive insight into one of humanity's deepest longings. The question wasn't just academic anymore, it was personal, urgent, and filled with the weight of every tear shed in grief. I thought about every funeral I'd attended, every grieving person I'd tried to comfort, every child like Emma who needed to know if love really does transcend physical separation. This wasn't just about theological curiosity, this was about whether the bonds we cherish most deeply are truly stronger than what we call death. The room grew incredibly still, and I sensed that familiar presence I'd come to recognize during my deepest prayer times. Jesus was about to speak, not just to my mind, but to my heart. I was about to receive an answer that would bring clarity to one of life's most profound mysteries. What he showed me in that sacred moment would forever change how I comfort the grieving, how I understand love's eternal nature, and how I answer innocent questions from children who miss their mommies and daddies. The truth was more beautiful and complex than I could have imagined. As I knelt there in the quiet darkness, my heart heavy with questions about love and eternity, I felt that familiar warmth that always comes when Jesus draws near. It wasn't dramatic or overwhelming, just a gentle presence that filled the room with peace. I whispered, "Lord, please help me understand. Do our loved ones in heaven really see us?" Suddenly, I wasn't in my prayer room anymore. I found myself standing in a place that was somehow both earthly and heavenly, like a garden that existed between two worlds. The light was soft and golden, and I could hear what sounded like distant music, not quite audible, but felt in my spirit like a gentle symphony of love and joy. Jesus appeared beside me, and his presence was so comforting that every anxiety I'd been carrying simply melted away. He looked at me with those eyes full of understanding and said, "Jonathan, you've been wrestling with a question that breaks my heart because I see how much my children need to know the truth about love's eternal nature." I found myself able to speak, though my voice was barely a whisper. "Lord, people are hurting. They want to know if their loved ones can see them, if the connection continues, if love really transcends physical separation. Little Emma needs to know if her mother can watch her grow up. What's the truth?" Jesus smiled with such tenderness that I felt tears beginning to form. "The answer," he said, "is both simpler and more wonderful than human theology has made it. Love doesn't end at physical transition, it transforms. The connection doesn't break, it deepens, but understanding how requires seeing with eternal eyes, not earthly limitations." He gestured around the garden, and I noticed that it seemed to pulse with life in a way that was supernatural yet natural. "This place exists between heaven and earth," he explained. "It's where those who love can witness without interfering, where they can see without being burdened by earthly sorrow or pain." As we began walking together, Jesus continued, "Your friend Sarah, Emma's mother, she's not gone. She's more present than she ever was in her physical body, but her presence operates by heavenly principles now, not earthly ones. The love she has for Emma hasn't diminished. It's been purified and intensified beyond earthly comprehension." I felt overwhelmed by what I was hearing. "But Lord, how does it work? Can she actually see Emma's daily life? Does she know when Emma is sad or happy? Can she witness her growing up?" The questions poured out of me like water breaking through a dam. Jesus paused our walk and turned to face me fully. "What I'm about to show you will answer not just your questions, but the questions of every grieving heart. You're about to understand how I designed love to be truly eternal, how the bonds formed in love on earth become even stronger in the realm of eternity. He raised his hand, and suddenly the air in front of us shimmered like heat waves on a summer day. "Look," he said simply, and what I saw took my breath away. It was like a window opening between dimensions, and through it, I could see scenes of people on earth going about their daily lives. But this wasn't just observation, it was something far more profound. I could sense the presence of loved ones who had transitioned to heaven, and their awareness of what was happening wasn't distant or detached. It was filled with love, understanding, and a kind of peaceful knowing that I'd never experienced before. "This is how it works," Jesus explained. "Those in heaven don't watch like people viewing a movie. They experience a form of loving awareness that's filtered through my perfect peace. They see what matters, they feel the love, but they're not burdened by earthly pain or anxiety because they exist in my complete joy." I watched in amazement as the scene shifted, and I saw Emma in her bedroom, talking to a picture of her mother. Somehow, I could sense Sarah's presence not as a ghost or spirit, but as pure love made aware. She knew Emma's words, felt her daughter's heart, and was somehow able to impart comfort in ways that transcended physical presence. "The love between them hasn't ended," Jesus said softly. "It's been elevated to its eternal form." Sarah experiences perfect love for Emma, without the limitations of human worry or earthly sorrow. And Emma, even without realizing it consciously, receives that love in her spirit. The connection is real, Jonathan. Love truly never ends. As the vision faded, Jesus looked at me with such compassion. "Are you ready to understand the 7 truths about how love operates between heaven and earth? What I'm about to teach you will bring healing to every grieving heart and answer the questions that keep people awake at night, wondering about their loved ones." Jesus led me to sit on a beautiful stone bench that seemed to be made of light itself. The peace in this place was beyond description, not the absence of activity, but the presence of perfect love. "These 7 truths," he began, "will transform how people understand the eternal nature of love and the connection between heaven and earth. The first truth is this: those in heaven experience perfect awareness without earthly burden. Your loved ones can sense your heart, feel your love, and know your important moments. But they're not weighed down by worry or sadness because they exist in my perfect joy. They see through the lens of eternity, where all things work together for good. The second truth: love creates an eternal connection that death cannot break. When someone loves deeply on earth, that love doesn't disappear when they transition to heaven. It becomes purified and perfected. The bond you share with them actually becomes stronger because it's no longer limited by physical constraints or human misunderstandings. The third truth: your loved ones in heaven don't become different people. They become the fullest version of who they were created to be. Sarah is still Emma's mother, still carrying that fierce maternal love, but now without fear, without pain, without the limitations that physical life brought. Her love is now perfect love. The fourth truth: those in heaven can impart comfort and peace in ways that transcend physical presence. They can't change circumstances or intervene in free will choices, but they can participate in the spiritual atmosphere around you. When you feel inexplicably comforted while grieving, that's often their love reaching you through my spirit. The fifth truth: your loved ones in heaven are not sad about being separated from you because they can see the bigger picture of eternity. They know that your time apart is temporary. They can see the good I'm working in your life through your grief, and they experience such perfect joy that they wouldn't trade their heavenly experience for earthly reunion. The sixth truth: communication between heaven and earth happens through my spirit, not through human methods. Your loved ones can't send you text messages or move objects around your house, but they can inspire thoughts of comfort, bring peace to your heart, and participate in the spiritual realm around you in ways that science can't measure but love can feel. The seventh truth: your loved ones in heaven are not waiting around, being bored or missing out on earthly experiences. They're engaged in the magnificent work of heaven, worshiping me, growing in perfect love, preparing for the eternal reunion when heaven and earth become one. Their existence is filled with purpose, joy, and anticipation for what's coming. As Jesus shared these truths, I felt like understanding was flooding my heart, but I had more questions. Lord, what about people who worry that their loved ones are disappointed in them? What about guilt over things left unsaid or relationships that were strained? How does that work in this perfect awareness you're describing? Jesus' face filled with such compassion. Those in heaven see through my eyes of perfect love and grace. They understand the limitations that earthly life placed on relationships. They don't hold grudges or carry disappointment because they now understand human struggle with perfect clarity. They feel only love and hope for your healing and growth. Your grandfather, the one you've been dreaming about, he's not disappointed in your struggles or your questions. He sees your heart, he knows your journey, and he feels only pride and love for who you're becoming. The dreams you've been having aren't just your imagination, they're his love reaching through the spiritual realm to comfort you. And Jonathan, this applies to every person who's ever wondered about their loved ones. The mother who lost a child, her baby knows her love and feels no pain. The child who lost a parent, that parent sees their growth and celebrates every milestone. The spouse who lost their partner, that love continues in perfect form. Here's what might surprise people. Those in heaven don't experience time the way you do on earth. They can be aware of your entire earthly journey while also existing in the eternal now of heaven. They're not impatiently waiting for you to join them. They're joyfully anticipating the reunion while being fully present in heavenly reality. I felt compelled to ask, but Lord, what about when people feel like they can't sense their loved ones at all? What about when the pain is so overwhelming that there seems to be only emptiness and silence? Does that mean the connection isn't real? This question felt crucial for people drowning in grief. Ah, this is important, Jesus replied. Sometimes I allow seasons of feeling their absence so people can learn to find their comfort in me first, not in the sense of their loved one's presence. It's not because the connection isn't real, it's because I need to be their primary source of peace. The connection remains, but sometimes I quiet it so they can hear my voice more clearly. Also, grief can sometimes make people's spiritual senses feel numb. When someone is in deep emotional pain, it's harder to perceive spiritual realities. This doesn't mean their loved ones aren't aware of them. It means their heart needs healing before they can sense that awareness again. The love is always there. Sometimes the receiver needs tending. Remember, those in heaven want their loved ones on earth to find healing, to experience joy again, to live fully until their earthly mission is complete. They don't want to be the sole source of comfort. They want to participate in a symphony of love that includes my presence, earthly relationships, and the hope of eternal reunion. Jesus then showed me something that made me gasp with wonder. Look at how love multiplies in heaven, he said. And I saw a vision of how the love of those who've transitioned doesn't just continue, it expands. They love their earthly families perfectly, but they also participate in the love of the entire heavenly community. Your friend Sarah doesn't just love Emma, now she loves all children with perfect maternal love. Your grandfather doesn't just care about you, he participates in the care of all his spiritual family. Love in heaven isn't diminished by being shared, it's multiplied exponentially. They become part of the great cloud of witnesses, cheering on all of humanity. This is why those in heaven aren't sad or limited by earthly separation. Their capacity for love has been infinitely expanded. They love you perfectly, but they also love everyone perfectly. They're not sitting around missing earthly life. They're engaged in love and joy beyond earthly comprehension. But here's the beautiful part, Jesus continued. Even though their love is expanded to include all of heaven, their specific love for you remains unique and special. Sarah's maternal love for Emma is distinct from her love for all children. The relationship bonds forged on earth remain precious and individual even within the vastness of heavenly love. I had one more pressing question. Lord, what about people who didn't have a relationship with you before they passed away? What about loved ones who rejected faith? How does this awareness work for them? I knew this question would be crucial for many people watching. Jesus' expression grew tender but serious. This is where earthly understanding meets eternal mystery. Those who've accepted my love, whether moments before transition or years earlier, they experience this perfect awareness. For others, eternity is more complex than earthly minds can grasp, and it's not your burden to understand it fully while you're still in physical form. What I can tell you is this: my mercy is far greater than human understanding. My love reaches further than human theology can explain. and there are aspects of eternity that won't be fully clear until you're there yourself. Focus on the love you know is real, and trust me with the mysteries that are beyond your current comprehension. But for those who've embraced my love, and that includes most of the people your viewers are missing, this connection is real, this awareness is true, and this love is eternal. They're not lost to you, they're just loving you from a different dimension of reality. The separation you feel is temporary, the love you share is forever. As Jesus finished explaining these profound truths, something shifted in the atmosphere around us. The golden light grew brighter, and I heard what sounded like gentle music growing closer. "Jonathan," Jesus said with a smile that radiated pure joy, "there's someone who wants to speak with you. Your heart has been carrying questions about him for so long." My breath caught in my throat as I saw a familiar figure walking toward us through the garden. It was Papa, my grandfather, but he looked radiant, whole, and filled with a peace I'd never seen in him during his earthly life. The years of struggle, the weariness that had marked his later years, all of it was gone, replaced by vibrant life and joy. "Hello, my boy," Papa said, and his voice carried all the love I remembered, but without any of the earthly weight he used to carry. I fell to my knees, overwhelmed by seeing him again, by the reality that he truly did still exist, still knew me, still loved me with that fierce grandfather's love I'd missed so desperately. Through my tears, I managed to whisper, "Papa, I've missed you so much. I've wondered if you knew how my life turned out, if you could see that I found my way, that I found purpose in serving Jesus. I've carried this ache for 15 years, wondering if you were proud of me." Papa knelt beside me, and though he couldn't physically touch me, I felt his love so powerfully it was like being embraced by warmth itself. "Jonathan, I've seen every step of your journey. I watched you discover your calling. I celebrated when you were cast as Jesus. I've felt such pride in who you've become, and how you've let God use your gifts to touch hearts around the world. But more than your achievements," Papa continued, "I'm proud of your heart. I see how you love people, how you carry their burdens, how you seek truth even when it's difficult. The man you've become is everything I hoped for when I was raising you. The father you'll be someday will be influenced by the love you learned from our time together." I was sobbing now, 15 years of grief and wondering pouring out of me. I was so afraid you couldn't see me, that the connection was broken, that all those times I talked to you were just me talking to myself. I was afraid you didn't know how much you meant to me, how much your love shaped who I became. "Oh, my dear boy," Papa said, his voice filled with such tenderness, "I've heard every word you've spoken to me. I've felt every moment you've remembered our time together. The love we shared didn't end when I transitioned, it became eternal. I've been loving you from heaven the way I loved you on earth, just without the limitations of physical form." Jesus stood beside us, watching this reunion with such joy that the very air seemed to sparkle. "This is what I wanted you to experience, Jonathan," he said. "This is the reality for everyone who wonders about their loved ones. The connection is real, the love continues, the awareness exists. Your Papa has been part of your journey all along." Papa looked at me with those eyes I remembered so well, now shining with heavenly light. "I want you to tell people that we're not gone, we're just loving from a different place. We're not missing out on their lives, we're celebrating their growth from the perspective of eternity. We don't carry earthly worry anymore, but we carry eternal love. Tell Emma that her mother sees her, loves her, and is so proud of her courage. Tell everyone who's lost someone that the love they shared is stronger now than it ever was. We're not waiting around being sad, we're joyfully engaged in the magnificent work of heaven while maintaining our precious love for those still on earth." As our time together began to draw to a close, I felt such overwhelming gratitude. The questions that had tormented me for weeks were answered. The ache in my heart was filled with certainty. The doubt about whether love truly transcends physical separation was replaced with absolute knowledge that it does. Papa stood to leave, but before he did, he said something that I knew I had to share with everyone watching. "Jonathan, tell people not to grieve like those who have no hope. We're not lost to them, we're waiting for them in the most beautiful place imaginable. Their grief is valid, their missing us is natural, but their despair isn't necessary because the separation is temporary. And tell them this, Papa continued. We want them to live fully while they're still on earth. We don't want them to spend their remaining earthly time being sad about us. We want them to love deeply, serve faithfully, and experience all the joy that earthly life can offer, knowing that we'll have eternity together to celebrate every moment. As Papa walked away, he turned back one more time. I love you, Jonathan. I'm proud of you. And I'll be right here loving you until the day you join me in this beautiful place. The overwhelming peace that filled my heart in that moment was unlike anything I'd ever experienced. Jesus put his hand on my shoulder as I watched Papa disappear into the golden light. This is my gift to everyone who grieves, he said. The certainty that love never ends, that connections remain, that the bonds formed in love on earth become eternal bonds in heaven. Their loved ones haven't left them, they're just loving them from paradise. Now you understand why I wanted you to share this message, Jesus said. Not just the theological explanation, but the heart reality. People need to know that their intuition about ongoing connection is correct. They need to know that talking to their loved ones isn't foolish, it's faith. They need to know that love truly is stronger than physical separation. As the vision began to fade and I felt myself returning to my prayer room, Jesus spoke one final word that I'll never forget. Jonathan, you've experienced the truth that will set grieving hearts free. Death is not the end of love, it's love's transformation into its eternal form. Share this truth with confidence because it's not just hope, it's reality. When I opened my eyes, I was back in my prayer room, but everything had changed. The weight of uncertainty about love and eternity had been lifted from my shoulders. I sat there for another hour, not because I was confused or seeking more clarity, but because I was overwhelmed with gratitude for the gift I'd just received, both for myself and for everyone who would hear this message. The next morning, I called Emma's father and asked if I could take Emma out for ice cream. When we sat down together, I looked into those precious 7-year-old eyes and said, Emma, your mommy can see you. She loves you just as much as she did before, maybe even more. She knows when you're sad, she celebrates when you're happy, and she's so proud of your brave heart. Emma's face lit up with such relief and joy that I started crying right there in the ice cream shop. I knew it, she said. I could feel her sometimes, especially when I was really missing her. It felt like love was hugging me, even when no one was there. That's when I knew this revelation wasn't just for me. It was for every grieving heart that needed this certainty. Over the past week, I've shared this truth with several friends who've lost loved ones, and the transformation in their faces has been incredible. The desperate grief hasn't disappeared, that's natural and necessary, but the hopeless despair has been replaced with peaceful certainty. They're still sad about the temporary separation, but they're no longer tormented by wondering if the connection still exists. If you're watching this and you've lost someone precious, I want you to know this truth isn't just for comfort, it's reality. Your loved one who embraced Jesus' love sees you, knows your heart, and continues loving you from the perfection of heaven. When you talk to them, they hear you. When you remember them, they feel honored. When you miss them, they understand and love you even more. The dreams you have about them, the sudden peace you feel when you're grieving, the unexplained comfort that comes at just the right moment. These aren't coincidences or wishful thinking. They're expressions of the eternal love connection that death cannot break. Your loved one is more alive now than they ever were on earth, and their love for you has been perfected in heaven's glory. Father God, I come to you now on behalf of everyone watching who has loved someone who's transitioned to heaven. Thank you for revealing through Jesus that love truly is eternal, that the connections formed in love on earth become even stronger in heaven. Thank you for the truth that our loved ones aren't lost to us, they're just loving us from paradise. Lord, I pray for everyone who's been tormented by uncertainty about their loved ones. Replace their desperate wondering with peaceful knowing. Help them understand that their intuition about ongoing connection is correct, that talking to their loved ones isn't foolish but faithful, and that the love they shared continues in its perfect, eternal form. For those who are drowning in grief, I pray that this truth brings healing comfort. Help them process their natural sadness about temporary separation while resting in the certainty that their loved ones are experiencing perfect joy and maintaining perfect love for them. Give them peace that surpasses understanding as they navigate life without physical presence but with spiritual connection. Jesus, I pray specifically for little Emma and every child who's lost a parent. Help them feel their mother's or father's love reaching them from heaven. Surround them with your peace and help them understand that their parents' love didn't end, it was transformed into its eternal form. Let them feel held by both your love and their parents' continuing care. Holy Spirit, comfort every grieving heart watching this message. Help them know that their loved ones want them to live fully, love deeply, and experience earthly joy while they wait for the eternal reunion. Help them grieve like people who have hope, not despair, because the separation is temporary, but the love is forever. Father, thank you that death is not the end of love, but love's transformation into its eternal form. Thank you that our loved ones in heaven see us, know us, and continue loving us with perfect love. Help us live worthy of their pride, love worthy of their example, and serve faithfully until we join them in your glorious presence. In Jesus' precious name, amen. If this message touched your heart, please subscribe for more encouragement and share your own story. In the comments, I read everyone and would love to hear how God is speaking to you.